My name is Rachel Whitman, and the first time my sister tried to hand me her kid like a grocery bag, it happened on Christmas Eve, in front of everyone, while the ham was still in the oven and Bing Crosby was singing in the background. "Rach, you're so good with kids," Tiffany said, already halfway into her coat. Her lipstick was perfect. Her hair curled like she'd stepped out of a salon, and her phone kept buzzing with excited little chimes. My nephew Eli, 5 years old, stood behind her holding a sticky candy cane and blinking up at me like he could feel the shift in the room before anyone admitted it. "No," I said. One clean syllable. Not loud, not dramatic, just final. Tiffany's smile froze, but she recovered fast, because she always did. "What do you mean, no? It's just a couple hours." "It's Christmas Eve," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "You told Mom and Dad you were coming to dinner." "I am here," she said, like that counted. "I just need to run out for something." "For what?" my dad asked from the kitchen, his sleeves rolled up, his apron stained with brown sugar glaze. He sounded tired already, like he knew exactly where this was going. Tiffany's eyes flicked, too quick, toward the hallway mirror where she'd checked herself 5 times since arriving. "A quick errand. Don't start." My mom stepped between us, dish towel clenched in her hand. "Tiffany, what errand on Christmas Eve at 6:30 p.m. requires you to leave your child here?" Tiffany's expression sharpened. "Wow. Okay. I guess we're doing this now." I felt my heart pounding, but I didn't back up. I've been backing up for 2 years. Eli tugged my sleeve. "Aunt Rach, are you mad?" I crouched, forcing warmth into my face. "No, buddy, not at you. Never at you." Tiffany sighed loudly, like I was being unreasonable in the same way someone might refuse to share a Netflix password. "Rachel, you're literally making this a thing for no reason." "It's already a thing," I said, "because I'm not your free weekend childcare anymore." Her eyes widened theatrically. "Oh my God! Listen to yourself! You hate kids now? Is that what this is? You hate my kid?" My Aunt Janice, the family loudspeaker, gasped shocked from the couch. "Tiffany, don't say that." Tiffany pivoted toward the room like she was addressing a jury. "No, let's be honest. I'm a single mom. I do everything myself. I don't have a partner. I don't have a break. And my own sister can't step up for her nephew? On Christmas Eve?" I stood up slowly, feeling the heat climb up my neck. "Step up?" I repeated. "I stepped up every weekend for 2 years. Every single Saturday and Sunday, while you told everyone you were working." Tiffany's jaw tightened, and that's when I realized she hadn't expected me to say it in front of them. Not like that. Not tonight. Because tonight wasn't supposed to be about truth. Tonight was supposed to be about her. Tiffany, the brave single mom. Tiffany, the martyr. Tiffany, the one who does it all. Tiffany, the one everyone felt sorry for. And I was supposed to be the quiet, convenient background character who absorbed whatever she needed, time, money, labor, without ever asking for accountability. But I was done being her cover story. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, in a normal, middle-class, we go to Costco and argue about parking spots kind of family. My parents weren't rich. We weren't poor. We were just steady. Dad worked in logistics. Mom ran the office at a dental clinic. And our biggest drama used to be whether we were going to my grandma's house for Thanksgiving or hosting at ours. Then Tiffany became a mom at 27. She'd had Eli with a guy she dated for less than a year, one of those charismatic future entrepreneur types who always had a new plan and never had a stable job. He disappeared when Eli was still in diapers. He sent child support in random bursts like a broken sprinkler, and Tiffany turned that into her signature storyline. I'm alone. I'm abandoned. I'm doing it all. And I believed her. At first, I really did. Tiffany was always a lot. She could make a room orbit around her without trying. In high school, she was homecoming court. In college, she was the fun one. When she cried, people rushed in to rescue her like it was their job. When I cried, I tended to do it in private, and then show up the next day pretending I'd never been hurt. I'm the older sister by 3 years. I've always been the reliable one. I went to college, got a steady job, built a quiet life. I'm 34 now. I live alone in a townhouse I actually like, with a small backyard and a Christmas wreath that stays up a little too long every year because taking it down makes the holidays feel officially over. I work in HR for a mid-sized healthcare company. Good benefits, stable hours, not glamorous. The kind of job where people only notice you when something goes wrong, which, in hindsight, made me the perfect person to quietly absorb Tiffany's chaos. It started the first spring after Eli turned 3. Tiffany showed up at my place on a Friday night with Starbucks in one hand and Eli on her hip, like it was a cute little visit. I have a shift tomorrow, she said casually, stepping inside without waiting to be invited. Can you watch him Saturday, just from 8 to 6? I blinked. 8 to 6? That's 10 hours. She rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. It's one day. You don't have kids. You don't understand how hard it is. I didn't want to fight. I love Eli. He's sweet. He lines his toy cars up in perfect little rows and whispers to them like they're having secret meetings. He calls me Aunt Rach like it's one word. So I said yes. That first Saturday, Tiffany dropped him off with a giant tote bag and a smile that looked relieved. Thank you, she said. And I believed it meant something. Then it happened again the next weekend, and the next. And then it wasn't Saturday anymore, it was Saturday and Sunday. Double shift. Mandatory training. My manager is being insane. I'll owe you. At first, I kept track in my head, the way you do when you're trying to be fair. I told myself, she's a single mom, she's drowning, this is what family does. Then the excuses got inconsistent. Once she told me she had to work late because they were short-staffed. 2 hours later, I saw a story on her Instagram, her drink clinking against someone else's drink under neon lights, a caption that said, "When the girls finally drag you out." I stared at my phone like it had slapped me. Maybe she posted an old video, I told myself. Maybe it wasn't that night. But then it happened again. Different weekend, different excuse, different shift, and there she was again in a boomerang video with her hair done, dancing in a crowded bar like she didn't have a 5-year-old sleeping in my guest room. I started to feel stupid. Not because I was helping Eli. I would never regret loving him. But because Tiffany wasn't drowning. She was floating, and she was using my arms as her raft. The worst part wasn't even the time. It was the way she acted like it was my obligation. Like she'd made some invisible contract on behalf of the entire family, stamped it with single mom, and expected everyone to sign in blood. If I ever hesitated, Tiffany would tilt her head and go cold. I guess you just don't care, she'd say. I guess I know who I can't count on. Once she actually said, "You know, Rachel, some women just don't have that maternal instinct. It's kind of sad." She said it with a laugh, but it landed like a stone in my chest. Meanwhile, I was the one buying Eli's snacks because Tiffany would drop him off with half a bag of stale crackers and a juice box. I was the one buying him a little Spider-Man toothbrush because he kept using mine. I was the one washing his clothes because Tiffany's bag always smelled like old fast food and laundry that had sat too long in a wet machine. And I didn't do it because I wanted credit. I did it because Eli was a kid, and he deserved consistency, even if his mother treated consistency like something other people were supposed to provide. It became a routine. Friday night text. Drop off at 8 tomorrow. Not, can you? Not, are you free? Not, please. Just drop off. Like she was scheduling a package delivery. I started dreading weekends. I stopped making plans. I stopped dating seriously because every time someone asked me to do something Saturday, I'd do the math in my head and think, Tiffany will dump Eli on me and call me selfish if I say no. I'd stare at my calendar and feel this quiet panic, like my life didn't belong to me anymore. And the family played along. Because Tiffany told the story first. At Sunday dinners, Tiffany would sigh dramatically and say, I'm just so exhausted. Rachel's been helping me so much. I don't know what I'd do without her. Everyone would nod and look at me like I was some kind of saint. But then if I ever mentioned being tired, my Aunt Janice would laugh and say, Honey, you don't even have kids. Or my cousin would joke, Rachel's basically a mom already. It was always framed like I should be honored, like my time was a donation box. I tried to talk to Tiffany privately once. It was a Tuesday evening in October, and I'd just gotten home from work when she called me. I need Saturday, she said immediately. I took a breath. Tiff, I'm not available this weekend. Silence. Then, what do you mean you're not available? I have plans. With who? She demanded. That doesn't matter, I said, trying to keep it calm. I'm just not available. Her laugh was sharp. Wow, okay. Must be nice to just decide you don't want to help. I don't get to decide. I'm a mom. I felt my fingers curl around the edge of the counter. Tiffany, I help you every weekend. I love Eli, but I'm burning out. You're burning out? She scoffed. Rachel, you sit at a desk all week and go home to silence. I'm raising a child alone. I swallowed. Then you need a consistent childcare plan. I can't just what? Ask my own sister? Her voice rose. This is what family does. No, I said, quiet but firm. This is what you've decided family does, without asking. She hung up on me, and that should have been the moment I stopped. But then Friday came, and she texted a picture of Eli holding a little pumpkin craft at preschool, smiling, and my resolve collapsed like wet cardboard. Because Tiffany knew exactly where to aim. She didn't have to convince me. She just had to weaponize my love for him. By the time December rolled around, the pressure got worse. Because Christmas is the season where people suddenly become experts on what family should do. Every year, my parents hosted Christmas Eve dinner. Ham, scalloped potatoes, green bean casserole, those Pillsbury crescent rolls my mom insisted were tradition, and a table full of mismatched holiday napkins. This year, Tiffany started talking early about how hard the holidays were for single moms. I don't even know how I'm going to get everything done, she said at Thanksgiving, eyes glossy like she was auditioning for a commercial. Shopping, wrapping, baking, work, and I have no one. I sat there chewing my turkey, thinking about the weekends I'd spent building Lego sets with Eli, while Tiffany posted photos of cocktails and captioned them, self-care. My mom reached over and squeezed Tiffany's hand. We're here for you, sweetie. Tiffany glanced at me. Yeah, she said. Rachel's been a lifesaver. Everyone looked at me, and I smiled, because what else could I do? But something in me started to shift. Not anger exactly, more like clarity. I'd been acting like I needed Tiffany's permission to protect my own life, and I didn't. The final straw came 2 weekends before Christmas. Tiffany texted me Friday at 11:42 p.m. Drop off 9 a.m. I have a mandatory shift. I stared at the message in my dark bedroom. I'd worked a full week. My laundry was piled on the chair, and I'd been looking forward to sleeping in. I felt this wave of exhaustion so strong it almost made me nauseous. So I typed, "I can't tomorrow." 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, "Excuse me?" I waited, breathing, trying not to cave. I typed, "I need a break. I can do next weekend for a few hours, but not this one." The phone rang. Tiffany didn't text back. She called, because calls are harder to ignore. I answered, because I'm not brave in the way movies are brave. I'm brave in the way real life demands. Shaky, sweating, still doing it anyway. "Tiffany," I said. Her voice came out sharp and mean. "Rachel, you are not doing this right now." "I am," I said, surprising myself with how steady it sounded. "I'm saying no." "You can't say no," she snapped. "You don't get to opt out of being an aunt." "I'm not opting out," I said. "I'm setting a boundary." She laughed, ugly. "You're setting a boundary? Rachel, you're setting a boundary like you're some influencer therapist on TikTok." My stomach tightened. "You need to find childcare." "I have childcare," she said. "I have you." "No," I replied. "You've had me, for free, every weekend, and you've lied about it." Silence. Then her voice dropped into something colder. "What are you talking about?" "I've seen your posts," I said. "You tell me you're working and you're out." "You're stalking me?" she shot back, flipping it instantly. "I'm not stalking you," I said. "You post it publicly." She inhaled hard. "You know what? Fine. If you want to be like this, go ahead. But don't be shocked when the family sees who you really are." My throat went dry. Who I really am? "A woman who only cares about herself," she hissed. "A woman who's selfish. A woman who doesn't like kids." And then she hung up. I sat on my bed in the dark, the silence ringing in my ears. The next morning, I didn't get a drop-off. Instead, at 10:15 a.m., my mom called me. "Rachel," she said carefully, like she was stepping onto ice. "Did you refuse to watch Eli?" I closed my eyes. Yes. There was a pause. "Tiffany is very upset." "I know," I said. "She says you told her you don't want to deal with kids anymore." I felt something snap. Not loud, not explosive, just a clean break inside me, like a rope finally giving up. "I didn't say that," I replied. "I said I need a break, and she needs consistent childcare." My mom's voice softened. "Honey, she's doing her best." I almost laughed, but it came out like a sigh. "Mom, you don't know what's been happening." And I realized no one knew, because Tiffany controlled the narrative. So I decided I was done letting her. That night, I opened my laptop and did what I always do when emotions start to blur reality. I got organized. I pulled up my calendar and scrolled back, weekend after weekend, blocked out with Eli like it was a second job. I opened my banking app and searched Target, Walmart, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, Children's Place, snacks, kids' clothes, a toddler pillow because he said his neck hurt on my couch. Then I opened my text thread with Tiffany. It was all there. Every drop-off, every "you're free," every "don't be dramatic," every "single moms don't get breaks." And then I went one step further, because there was one thing I'd never looked at closely: the timestamps on her work excuses versus her social media posts. I didn't do it like a jealous person. I did it like an HR person who's had to investigate misconduct. And the pattern was so obvious, it made my stomach turn. Mandatory shift lined up with girls' night. Training lined up with bottomless brunch. Late shift lined up with a story tagged at a place that had a DJ. She wasn't just occasionally going out. She'd built a whole lifestyle around the assumption that I would keep showing up. And then, because the universe has a sense of timing, I remembered something. A month ago, Tiffany had asked me to pick up Eli from her apartment because she'd run to the store. I'd walked into her building, and a neighbor in the hallway had smiled awkwardly and said, "Oh, you're the sister. You're here a lot." At the time, I'd just nodded politely, but now I thought, a lot. I drove over the next day, mid-afternoon, under the excuse of dropping off a toy Eli had left at my place. Tiffany wasn't home. Her car wasn't there. But her neighbor, an older woman with a little dog wearing a Christmas sweater, was outside by the mailboxes. "Hi," I said, forcing a friendly smile. "I'm Rachel, Tiffany's sister." The woman's face softened. "Oh, honey, yes. You're the one who watches the little boy." My stomach clenched. "Yeah, sometimes." The woman looked uncomfortable. "Bless you. I've been worried, honestly." I went still. "Worried about what?" She hesitated, glancing around like she didn't want trouble. "There were a couple times she left him with a friend of hers. Not you, like late at night." My skin went cold. "What friend?" "I don't know his name," she said quickly. "A guy. Loud. Smelled like beer. They were laughing in the hallway." I swallowed. "Did you ever see Eli alone?" The woman's eyes softened with something like pity. "Once. He was sitting by the door with his little shoes on. It was after midnight. I knocked because I couldn't sleep and I heard him. He said, 'Mommy's coming back.'" My throat tightened so hard I could barely breathe. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't ignore it either. I drove home shaking, gripping the steering wheel so hard my hands cramped. And in that moment, my decision wasn't just about me anymore. It was about Eli. Not in a "I'm going to steal him" way, not in some dramatic fantasy, but in a real-life, adult way. If Tiffany was irresponsible, the family deserved to know, and Eli deserved protection. So I made a plan. Not a revenge plan, a clarity plan. I created a simple document, 1 page, no drama, just facts. Dates I watched Eli, times Tiffany said she was working, screenshots of posts with timestamps, receipts of expenses I covered, and one line at the bottom. Starting January 1st, I will no longer provide unpaid weekend childcare. If you need childcare, we can discuss a paid schedule with advance notice, or I can help you find a licensed sitter/daycare. It was firm, clean, adult. I printed it, and I decided the right moment to bring it up would be Christmas Eve, when the whole family would be there, when Tiffany couldn't twist my words later, when everyone could hear the exact same truth at the same time. Which brought me back to the kitchen, the ham, the music, and Tiffany halfway into her coat. She tried again. "Rachel, stop being weird. Just take him." I looked around the room. My parents, my aunt, my cousins, the Christmas tree lights blinking softly like they didn't realize a war was starting. I reached into my purse and pulled out the document. Tiffany's eyes narrowed. "What is that?" "A schedule," I said, and my voice didn't shake this time. "And receipts, and screenshots." My Aunt Janice made a small sound like she'd just smelled smoke. Tiffany's face changed, fast. Are you serious right now? You're going to embarrass me in front of everyone? No, I said. You embarrassed me when you told people I'm selfish and hate kids because I stopped being your free labor. Tiffany's voice rose. Because you are selfish! Eli flinched at the volume. I breathed in, slow, controlled. Then I said, Everyone, I need you to hear this clearly. I love Eli. I will always love Eli. But Tiffany has been leaving him with me nearly every weekend for 2 years, and she has not been honest about why. My mom's mouth fell open slightly. Rachel. Tiffany laughed too loudly. Oh my God, here we go. She's doing her little PowerPoint. I ignored her and set the papers on the table like I was placing down something heavy I'd carried too long. These are the weekends, I continued. These are the texts. These are the posts from the same nights she told me she was working. My cousin leaned forward. My dad's eyes hardened. Tiffany stepped toward me, voice dripping contempt. You're really going to stand there and act like a victim because you had to babysit your own nephew? That's pathetic. I met her gaze. Stop. Right there. She blinked. Excuse me? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. You don't get to call me names to dodge facts, I said. You don't get to paint yourself as a hero and me as a villain because I finally said I have a life. Tiffany's face flushed. I'm a single mom. And that's real, I said. But being a single mom does not give you permission to exploit people. Her eyes went sharp as knives. Exploit? Wow, listen to you. You think you're better than me because you have your little office job and your quiet little house and no responsibilities. My Aunt Janice whispered, Oh my God. Tiffany turned to the room, arms wide. She's always been like this, cold, distant. She doesn't even like children. She just likes looking good for Mom and Dad. I nodded once, like I'd expected that exact move. Then I said, If I don't like children, why have I been buying his clothes? Why do I have a car seat in my car? Why does he have a toothbrush at my house? Why did I cover your daycare late fee last month? My mom's hand flew to her mouth. Late fee? Tiffany's eyes flickered. I pulled out one more sheet and slid it across the table. It was a screenshot of a Venmo request Tiffany had sent me at 2:17 a.m. 3 weeks ago. Can you spot me $120? Babysitter wants cash. I looked at my family. She had a babysitter, and she wasn't at work. She was out. Tiffany's voice rose into something panicked. That's not... Rachel, you're twisting... My dad spoke, low and dangerous. Tiffany, were you leaving Eli with random people? Tiffany snapped her head toward him. No! My mom's voice was small. Tiff, please, just tell the truth. Tiffany's shoulders stiffened. Then she did what she always did when she couldn't control the room. She attacked. You know what? She spat at me, eyes bright with rage. Fine. Congratulations. You got your little moment. You always wanted everyone to look at you like you're the responsible one. Well, here you go. Then she leaned in close enough that only I could hear the next part, her breath hot and furious. You're not family supportive. You're just emotionally stingy. You'd rather watch me struggle than inconvenience yourself. I stared at her, and the strangest calm settled over me, because she'd finally said the quiet part out loud. This was never about Eli. This was about Tiffany needing someone to absorb the cost of her choices so she could keep making them. I straightened and looked at the room again. "I'm not doing this anymore," I said clearly. "Starting now. Not January. Now." Tiffany's eyes widened. "You can't just—" "I can," I said. "And I am." My dad pointed toward the chair by the tree. "Sit down," he told Tiffany. Not asked, told. Tiffany looked like she might explode. Eli, confused and tired, leaned into my leg. I lifted him gently and carried him to the couch, turning on a quiet Christmas movie at low volume, something with animated reindeer, so he could focus on something other than the adults imploding. Then I came back to the table. My mom's eyes were wet. "Rachel, why didn't you tell us?" I swallowed. Because every time I tried to set a boundary, she threatened to turn everyone against me. And she did. My Aunt Janice looked at Tiffany like she was seeing her for the first time. "You told me Rachel refused to help because she doesn't like kids." Tiffany snapped. "Because she doesn't! Look at her! She's making me look like a monster on Christmas!" My dad's voice cut through like a knife. "Stop making this about you." The room went quiet in that way families get quiet when they're finally forced to face the person they've been enabling. My mom reached for the papers, reading the dates, the screenshots, the receipts. Her face crumpled. "Tiffany," she whispered, "you told me you were working." Tiffany's eyes darted. I needed a break." My mom nodded slowly. "Then you ask for help honestly. You don't lie. You don't manipulate. And you don't shame your sister for having boundaries." Tiffany's voice broke into something defensive and raw. "You don't get it. I'm alone. Everybody judges me. Everybody thinks I'm trash because I'm a single mom." My dad's jaw tightened. "No one thinks you're trash because you're a single mom. People are upset because you used your child as leverage." Tiffany's face twisted. "He's my son!" "And he's our grandson," my mom said sharply, and I almost fell over because my mom rarely raised her voice. "And I won't have him treated like a pawn." Tiffany blinked like she couldn't compute that the family wasn't automatically siding with her. Then she stood, pushing her chair back hard. "Fine. If you're all going to gang up on me, I'll leave." My dad stood too. "Not with him," he said, calm but immovable. "Not tonight. You're upset. He's staying here." Tiffany's face went pale. "You can't keep my child from me." My dad didn't flinch. "We're not keeping him. We're making sure he's safe while you cool off. If you walk out right now, you're walking out alone." Tiffany looked at me like she wanted to burn me alive with her eyes. "This is your fault," she hissed. I didn't react the way she wanted. I didn't cry. I didn't apologize. I just said, "No, Tiffany, this is the result." She stormed toward the door, yanking it open so hard the wreath on the outside swung crooked. Then she was gone. The house stayed silent for a few seconds. The only sound the soft, movie dialogue from the living room and the faint crackle of the fireplace. My mom sank into a chair like she'd aged 10 years. "Oh, God." I sat beside her, voice quiet. "I don't want to take Eli away from her, but I also can't be the invisible safety net while she keeps lying." My dad rubbed his forehead. "We should have paid attention." My Aunt Janice cleared her throat awkwardly. "Well, I guess I owe you an apology, Rachel." I nodded once. "I'm not asking anyone to choose me over Tiffany. I'm asking for the truth to be acknowledged." That night, Eli fell asleep on the couch under a Christmas blanket, his little hand curled around a plush reindeer. I watched him breathe, slow and even, and I felt two things at once: heartbreak and relief. Because the truth was out. But now we had to do something with it. The next morning, Tiffany texted my mom a string of angry messages. She claimed we ambushed her. She said I was turning everyone against her. She said I was obsessed with proving I'm better. But this time, she didn't get the last word. My mom replied with something simple. We love you. We love Eli. But things are changing. We will help, but not in secrecy and not through lies. My dad found a list of licensed childcare providers in her area. My mom offered to help pay for an occasional sitter if Tiffany was honest and scheduled it in advance. My aunt even, shockingly, offered to take Eli one Saturday a month. But here was the part Tiffany didn't like. We set rules. No more last-minute drop-offs. No more mandatory shifts without proof. No more dumping responsibility on me because I'm the quiet one. And I set my own boundary too. Written, clear, and non-negotiable. I would babysit only if I agreed in advance, and only for a limited window. Not full weekends, not overnight, not as a default setting for Tiffany's social life. When Tiffany realized the whole family had changed the terms, she tried one last tactic. She posted on Facebook 2 days after Christmas. It's crazy how people preach family until you actually need them. Some hearts are just empty. People reacted. People commented. People did the little sad face emoji parade. And for a moment, I felt that old panic, that fear of being misunderstood. Then my cousin texted me a screenshot and wrote, "She's fishing. Ignore it. We know." And something in me settled, because I didn't need to chase the narrative anymore. The narrative had finally caught up to the truth. A week later, Tiffany showed up at my door unannounced. I opened it, and there she was. No makeup, hair pulled back, eyes puffy. For a second, I saw her not as my enemy, not as the villain in my story, but as a person who'd been running from herself for years. "I'm not here to fight," she said quietly. I didn't invite her in yet. "Okay," she swallowed. "I messed up." I waited. She looked down. "I got used to having people save me. And I told myself I deserved it because I'm tired. And I am tired, Rachel. I'm exhausted, but I took it out on you." I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. "You didn't just take it out on me. You tried to ruin how people see me." Her eyes filled. "I know." I stayed quiet, letting her sit in it. Then she said the one thing that actually mattered. "I shouldn't have used Eli like that." My throat tightened. "No, you shouldn't have." She nodded, wiping her cheek. "I'm going to therapy. Mom made me, well, not made me, but she said she'd help pay if I actually go." I almost smiled at that, because my mom's version of a boundary is basically a steel wall covered in floral wrapping paper. Tiffany looked up at me, voice small. "Do you still want to be in Eli's life?" I blinked, stunned by the question. "Of course," I said. "But it has to be healthy, for me and for him." She nodded, breathing out. "Okay." I didn't forgive her instantly. I'm not built like that. But I did something I'd never done before. I told the truth without softening it. "I love my nephew," I said. "I'll show up for him. But I'm not your default babysitter. I'm not your scapegoat. And I'm not the villain in your story just because I finally chose myself." Tiffany nodded again, slower this time, like the words were landing in places she'd avoided. I understand, she whispered, and for the first time in years, I believed she might actually mean it. That spring, life changed in small, real ways. Tiffany still struggled, because parenting is hard and single parenting is harder. But she started asking instead of demanding. Sometimes I said yes, sometimes I said no. And when I said no, the world didn't end. Eli started preschool and came home with glitter-covered crafts and stories about his best friend who always traded snacks. I started taking my weekends back. I joined a Saturday morning yoga class. I went to Target without rushing. I went on a date that didn't end with a frantic text about drop-off time. And one Sunday in April, Eli looked up at me while we were building a little model dinosaur and said, "Aunt Rach, you're happy now." I swallowed around the lump in my throat. "Yeah," I whispered. "I am." Because the truth is, I never hated kids. I hated being trapped. I hated being used. I hated being painted as selfish just because I stopped letting someone else spend my life like it was their credit card. Christmas didn't fix everything, but it exposed everything. And that was the beginning of a better kind of family. One where love didn't require silence, and boundaries weren't treated like betrayal. Some people call that selfish. I call it finally choosing a life that's mine, and showing my nephew what self-respect looks like. So one day, he doesn't mistake manipulation for love.